Here with another video about what products I bring or whenever I'm traveling. These are essentials for what you need to assemble your bike and maintain your bike for even a short period of time by yourself. First product is a torque wrench. It's not even the bike pump or anything else like that. It's a torque wrench, because in order to assemble your bike, you need a torque wrench. You need to make sure that, especially with carbon fiber parts, you're torquing your bike up to a certain amount of torque specification that the manufacturer stayed on. Because if you don't, you can easily crack your steer tube. So people will over tighten here and crack their steer tube, and then if this breaks off, you have no handling, and if you're going downhill, it could be dead. So it'll say on here, as it says right here, 6 Newton meters. You use a torque wrench like this. So when you're taking your bike apart, you do this and to take the stem off. You also need to sometimes undo the front handlebars. Now, if you have a carbon fiber integrated one-piece thing, you would only undo here, but it's just as important because most bikes, this is the steer tube, which holds the fork in place, is made of carbon fiber. So if this cracks, it's whoosh on it. Same thing here, seat post. If the seat post if you over tighten this will crack. And these seat posts can easily be, especially with these aerodynamic, fancy proprietary seat posts, they'll easily be $400, $300 to replace these. So very important. Also up down here with the saddle, you need to also. So I love this one. It's made by Feedback. This torque wrench is made by Feedback. It's meant for traveling. Feedback makes a lot of very lightweight travel specific stuff. So it's good for when you're putting it on the plane. So very good torque wrench. You just take the bit and put it in and whoosh on it. I made another video, I'll link it down below, about why this is one of the best gifts for Christmas. Second is a pedal wrench, or some sort of pedal wrench or a tool to get your pedals off. For pedals, depending on the brand and the higher end they are, generally you need, I like using a hex wrench to Allen wrench to get the pedals off, because these actually have wishcons on the end. Some pedals, depending on what pedals you're having, will need a torque wrench back here to torque them off. It just depends. So mine are Look Kios Plus, and so yes, I can just take the wrench, put this to take the pedals off. And in order to travel with your bike, you're gonna have to take the pedals off. Most plane companies, airline companies require that the pedals are off. So that's one thing that's very important. And unless you want to go to the bike shop or find a bike shop to put your pedals on, then that's a no good thing. Second thing I have, obviously, pump. I have a mini pump. I used to have a floor pump, but it broke. So I've been going well with the little mini pump. I like this mini pump because it has the tube. So the head will come out like this, and you screw the nozzle onto the press the valve, and it does both Presta and Schrader. I like this because many times when you're pumping the pump, you can easily bend. You can bend this part here, the little part here, and if this bends, your tube is done, and then the valve core will break off, and sometimes will shoot off, and your tire will rapidly deflate. So with this, with a tube, it's less likely to happen, and it makes it much easier to pump it up. Along with this, and since I don't have a floor pump now, I have, along with this, tire pressure. This is the digital one, and so it'll tell me digitally how much pressure is in it. So I go pump it up for a little bit, put the thing on there, see how much pressure it is. If it's too much, then I think with this one, some of them actually come with a little gauge so you can actually bleed off, but if I don't, then I just bleed off myself, put it back on, and then I know exactly what my tire pressure is. So those are the really ones that I use the most. Well, and then obviously just a handy multi-tool. This one's older. I got it in Puerto Rico, and you can see it's older because the actual head is wearing down. So this is almost time to replace, because when you have the heads wearing down and getting dull, it can damage your bolts, and then you're kind of so out with the bolts. So, but a hex wrench, generally I had one that had a chain breaker and some other stuff, but when I was in Mexico, the authorities took it, so it's gone. But this one just has just the basics, like a screwdriver, flathead, and whatnot, enough to get the bike assembled. I always carry 2 sets of levers. Levers will break, so I like the Park Tool ones. Usually Park Tool gives you 3, and then the Pedros is also nice. So have 2 levers, so when you're changing your tires, very important. Let's see. And the next ones I think is very important, spoke wrench. So whenever you need to, the wheel will actually start to become untrue. So when the wheel is straight, that means the wheel is true. When the spokes become loose, either after hitting a pothole or something else, they become untrue, and so you need a spoke wrench to go in here, take this and spin around and tighten the spokes up. So this is very good for, especially I take this along with me whenever I ride, because if I break a spoke, the wheel will be completely untrue, so I can tighten up the other spokes around it so that I can get home. So this goes along with it. Last year I had other wheels that had, these are round spokes, but many higher end road models will actually have spokes that are straight and aerodynamic. It's like from spokes. So you use this, put this in here to hold the spoke, and then you use the other spoke key so it doesn't just spin around. Next thing I have here, I like to have something to clean the bike. So this one's pretty clean, but generally the drivetrain, as you can see here of mine, gets dirty. An old toothbrush can be used to just clean up the drivetrain. You get some degreaser, clean the drivetrain, get in here, use it to between the cogs, get all the gunk, especially on the pulley wheels. All kinds of gunk will get on your pulley wheels and everywhere, and you can use that, just a toothbrush, and then when it's done, you just throw it away. Obviously a patch kit. Patch kits are good, especially if you're riding with tubes. I'm riding with tubes. That's good because if you have a small puncture later on, you can take it out, use the glue and patch up the tube that you have. So saves you a few bucks, and if there's no bike shop around, you don't have that. Next thing, this is a cassette remover. So this actually will remove your cassette. This also is used to remove disc brake rotors. So if you have center lock disc brake rotors, this will be used to remove that. Very useful. And along with this is the chain whip. So whenever you want to remove your cassette, you need to have something to hold the cassette. So you use a chain whip, and then you take the cassette lock ring and you use it to undo that. So also I always have some sort of chain lube. This is the wet. It's good. I like it. And essentially you can eliminate some of these things if you're not, depending on how long you're going to stay traveling. I stay traveling for a long periods of time, so I keep more stuff. You could get away with just with this and a pump, obviously, and I always like having these and some levers and obviously a multi-tool. If you don't want to bring a cassette locking ring, you don't need it. Generally, I usually at the beginning of the year I have a comp tune done on my bike. That's around $100. They go through the entire bike and they tune up the brakes and everything else. Also, when I worked at the bike shop, maybe I'll put it on the screen here. What is it? The brake guide tool. It's very useful. You actually take the disc brakes. It's very difficult to align the disc brake pads on the bike. It's very difficult. and can be a pain because it's very easy to have them rub. So these are little pads you stick between a little piece of metal that you stick between the pads that makes the distance even, so then you can make sure that your disc brakes are absolutely correct whenever you're changing your pads. So that's another thing. If I have rim brakes, so it's much easier to deal with than the disc brake pads, but those are the things that I would push on it. Please like and subscribe if you got value out of this.